Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the first Christmas special in 6 years, and that is the Church of Ruby Road. Of course, it's Shooty's first episode and we have plenty to talk about, although before I begin this review, I like to say that I'm feeling a little bit different this time compared to the other reviews that I've done, and I'm slightly indifferent. For a lot of this episode, there are things that just don't sort of generate any feeling good or negative from me. I'm just not feeling a lot, like Davina McCall's inclusion. So there are things in this episode that are there, but I'm not going to mention them simply because I don't have an opinion on them. I think a lot of my issues with this episode stem from the idea of it being a Christmas special and it being a big nostalgic time for Doctor Who episodes for me, such as The Christmas Invasion, Voyage of the Damned are some of my favourites of the entire show, and they are such big, bombastic episodes, and because I've had them such a long time and watched them so many times, I know the story inside out. Every detail feels well woven and well created, and to introduce something new like this episode, and to then for it not to replicate the same feeling because obviously it's brand new, it sort of makes me feel a little bit strange towards it. But my sort of massive headline, I suppose, when it comes to this episode is that I massively enjoyed it. First off, Shooty and Millie are absolutely brilliant. Shooty is such a commanding doctor that takes such screen presence, and there's that beautiful moment that I liked with the snowman, in which it lands on him, and the sort of commanding nature and the way that he speaks to that police officer, I think was very Doctor-like, and I loved that. Even the musical bit. And the same goes for Millie Gibson, who I think is a lovely addition to this TARDIS pair. Like a lot of Doctor Who companions, she has a grounded family, and I like the little relationships that they have in this really large flat. I like the moment that she gives a kiss to her grandmother, and those sort of little details, that sort of attitude and the sort of smiling look of wonder that she has, I think make her a really fun companion. I'm looking forward to having a duo in the TARDIS that feels like just two best friends traveling the universe. Um, so it's all very exciting. I think they are holding the episode very well. We talked about our protagonists, but our antagonists this time are goblins, and I think that the goblin look, the goblin sort of style, including the Goblin King, is quite cool. A little bit campy, especially the Goblin King, and in fact, he's got sort of like boobs and stuff. But I think it does work within the episode, and I'm surprised to say that the song even works, and I loved Shooty's little verse that he adds to it. It could have easily given the goblins, a conspiring element. I think it's a shame that they don't have like a mouthpiece, in the fact that the Goblin King doesn't really have a personality. He's just sort of like a thing that sort of shouts and screams, and is more of an entity than actually something like a villain, that we can interact with like a villain. Um, but that was never the intention of the episode. So as much as the goblins worked, I didn't think that they could sustain a whole episode by themselves. But they don't, because they're setting up the companion, the time travel stuff. They're almost a plot device, more than anything, a obstacle than a villain. I wouldn't say the episode has any massive flaws in terms of its plot or anything like that. I did feel like the dynamic between the Doctor and Ruby was sort of skipped over slightly. She, by the end of the episode, felt like they've been together for ages, which I suppose could be good things sometimes. But for me, I felt like the sort of skepticism, there should have been a period of skepticism and sort of a little bit of push and pull within the two of them, because I think it makes their relationship more faithful to an actual relationship. I think that you need to be able to believe in everything that happens, in that respect. And I think that you won't believe it if by the end of the first hour that he's known her, he starts crying. I felt that I felt like when he discovered that Ruby was gone, I felt like the tears were too much, because, a 2,000-year-old Time Lord has seen so many things and was crying because a lady he'd known for an hour had disappeared, even though he could just go and save her. But that's sort of my gripe. I think that we've got past. I think that the relationship's something that they're going to work on, and it seems to me as if Russell didn't want to do the whole skepticism bit, so sort of skipped it over. until we get to presumably the next episode when he would, by the end of the episode, Millie realizes, hang on, he said time travel. So all those questions of what's a TARDIS, how does the time travel work, and all that kind of stuff, you can sort of have those conversations then, and from that, obviously, go into series 14, developing their dynamic a little bit more. So early days in terms of their relationship, but yeah, the tears were slightly too much. In my Christmas video this year, you should go and check it out if you haven't already watched it. I talked about the key ingredients that went into a Christmas special. I talked about tonality. I talked about good characters that have a warm sensibility to them, and things like that. And I think for the most part, this story passes those things. Please don't take this as a flaw within the episode, because it's not a flaw, but I did think that the Doctor would get a big triumphant moment, and I suppose the closest thing we got to was the bit on the ship, in which they jumped down, which was a nice moment, and I think there's plenty of little things sprinkled in there, as I mentioned, like the policeman scene and things like that prove he is the Doctor, and the wits there and everything. Although I did sort of expect the final sort of saving the day moment to be a lot bigger and a lot more. The Doctor has entered the room, the Doctor's checked in, the Doctor is back, and this new one is going to start saving the universe anew. And so that's it. That's how I feel about the Church on Ruby Road. I'll have to watch it twice, maybe even 3 times, and see how it sits at that stage. But I do enjoy it. I do think it was a lovely little introduction to our companion. And there's something about how the universe has changed now that I really like, and it's a welcome addition to this era of just the production and how everything feels big. It feels exciting, and as I mentioned during the 60th, I feel like we're in safe hands with Russell. And of course, we're going to get some Doctor Who in May. We're going to get Christmas specials, maybe something else in the autumn. We'll have to see. But I would like to thank you very much for watching. I hope you are had a very, very good Christmas, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.